Hello and welcome to Tumolo Talk. My name is Ken Tumolo. I'm a certified financial planner, founder of Tumolo Financial in East Lyme, Connecticut. And yes, I enjoy putting the pieces of the puzzle together, the retirement puzzle. And for those of you that have been to my other events, we know that puzzle doesn't quite go together the same for everyone. Today's topic is going to be Roth conversions. Let me just bring up a little slideshow for us. And basically, it's a question I've been getting a lot lately, and especially with the current market condition. What I'll do today, I'll cover a little bit about when to actually consider doing one. We'll go over some of the benefits of it and just kind of give a general overview of the Roth conversion. And for those of you that don't know what a Roth conversion is, it's when you take money out of those IRAs, 401ks, 457s, 403bs, those pre-tax retirement accounts. And what you're doing is you're taking that money from those accounts, paying taxes on it, putting it into what's called a Roth account, which is still a retirement account, but then you never ever pay taxes on that again, not even on the gain. So this way, let's say you converted $100,000, it grew to $200,000. None of that is taxable. You can draw that out pretty much anytime after 5 years. There's a little 5-year rule that I want to point out when you do a conversion, that it has to sit in there. So it's kind of a best way to put it. It's a timing planning play, but there's benefits to it. I'll call it a retirement tax play. Some of you will have what I call an age 72-year-old problem. That's when the IRS makes you take money out of those accounts, and they don't care how much you have in there. They don't care if you're going to have a tax problem. You just have to take that money out. And keep in mind, if you don't take that money out, they will hit you with a 50% penalty, still make you take out the amount you're supposed to take out, and pay the taxes. So it's a costly mistake you want to avoid. So I always say, let's plan ahead, and then are there any ways to fix problems in the future? Typically, most people will start doing this about 59 and a half years and older, especially with those 401ks, 403bs, because they are a lot of times restricted because they're work accounts, and a lot of those work accounts don't allow you to do certain things until after 59 and a half. There is a handful out there of 401ks that actually allow you to do it before 59 and a half. So it really comes down to the plan rules. So that's my little disclosure, that you actually might be in a plan at work that allows you to do something like that. Again, why should you do it? The tax play for retirement that I just mentioned. Again, you pay the taxes now, but then you don't pay taxes on it later. Now, you're lowering the risk of a future RMD, which I brought up, the age 72-year-old problem. A lot of it is centered around tax planning. Now, one of the things we know right now is we're probably at some of the lowest tax rates that we've ever been in currently. And just think about it right now. If you were to do those conversions, you're paying today's tax rates, but let's say 10, 15 years from now, our tax rates might actually go up. I'm actually of the feeling that they probably will. I can't promise you our tax rates are going to go up. I know no one wants to hear that. But really think about it. A lot has gone on over the past couple of years. The COVID relief bills. Basically, our federal government spent a lot of money. Also, with the current market conditions, there's really a lot that will play into this. But I think really, if they want to continue to provide the services that they provide, eventually the federal government is going to be forced to raise federal taxes. And again, hopefully our state taxes don't go up much, but that can also happen. So what we're doing is trying to get ahead of a problem. And the other thing I want to point out is sometimes when some of you have to take that money out when you're 72 years and older, keep in mind it's a calculation based on a table that the IRS puts out, and it's a percentage. Those percentages go up every year. So if tax rates are going up, and then the IRS each year is telling you have to take out more and more money, guess what? It might actually push you into another tax bracket, okay? And you're going to end up paying more money, more tax dollars, we should say, on the money that you're taking out. So really what we're doing, keep in mind, these Roth conversions, usually a tax play. It usually has to give you an advantage. Sometimes it's not worth doing. Now, the one other plus is passing money on to beneficiaries. Beneficiaries inherit Roths tax-free. So basically, that tax-free piece of it that you create, now the kids basically, or any other beneficiary, it could be a brother, sister, spouse, pretty much anyone, they receive it tax-free. Okay. And that plays into a big piece of this too, because back in 2019, they passed a rule that became active, became law in 2020, that yes, we've actually pushed out the RMD year, when you have to start taking those required minimum distributions. Basically, age 72, the IRS is making you take money out of those accounts. Now, they pushed that out for you. But then what they did was they went after the beneficiaries, not the spouses, just kids or brothers and sisters. Spouses still have the old rules where they can spread drawing out of those inherited accounts over time. But the kids or brothers and sisters, basically anyone other than a spouse, I should say, now what they have to do is actually take all of the money out over a 10-year period of time. So let's say you pass away, you've got an IRA worth $1 million, then the person that inherits it has to take that money out over a 10-year period of time, and it all has to be drawn out by the end of the 10th year. Now, think about this. If someone inherits that and they're in their strong working years and they have to take money out, and they have to take it out by a certain amount of time, it potentially drives up the tax rate for the beneficiaries too. So what you've done is you've actually created, the IRS and the state could possibly, because taxes could go up and the fact that they have to draw a whole bunch at once, they might have just become one of a bigger beneficiary of what you saved. So none of us want to make them a bigger beneficiary. We rather pass it on to family or charities. All right, best times to do this, down markets. And the reason why I say that, sometimes that will actually help those of you that are working. Sometimes it's a little hard to do these conversions when you're working, depending on what you earn. So what we want to do is plan these. I mean, we always like to run the numbers to make sure it's worth doing. It has to be, and it give you an advantage. Keep that in mind. So down markets, envision this. Stock market goes down. It's down here. You do a conversion down here. And remember, you don't pay taxes on any of that money when it's down here. But then as the market recovers, none of that money is ever taxable again. So it's almost like getting the market to pay your taxes, okay? Because you're never going to pay taxes again. You did it in a down market. And historically, markets have recovered. It actually improves your odds of making up for the taxes too. Because if you do a conversion at the top of the market, we needed to keep going up to make up for the taxes, okay? Usually we're timing these things between the day you retire and age 72, because now we're not dealing with work income, so we have more room in the tax brackets. And just kind of envision this, if we're doing partial conversions, we can play with the tax bracket piece of it and keep the conversions within a certain range, controlling your taxes. I always say keep control of your taxes, and this way you know what you're paying, and by keeping control, if you have a potential problem in the future, we get ahead of it. And this way you keep control all through and you're not just stuck just paying taxes. Excess money after you take your RMD. So the one thing I want to point out, even after you start taking these required minimum distributions at age 72, you can still do Roth conversions. But the catch is it's only the excess money above what you're required to take out. So keep that in mind. There's a lot more things I can go over on Roth conversions, how we figure it out. Best way to put it, we always like to run a spreadsheet. We call it the retirement checkup. But the plus of doing something like that is I can put in front of you a comparison, doing a Roth conversion versus not doing one. Does it give you an advantage in the current environment? This way you make a better decision, because now it's a number and I can point out one number. This is what it does to your picture. Either you end up with this much at age 90 or this much at age 90, and this part of it is not taxable and this part of it is taxable. And when you start to look at just a few pieces of data and you keep it simple, ending numbers, then you can make a decision. Does it give you an advantage? Should you be doing this or not? Because some of you out there, it just doesn't make sense to do a Roth conversion. So even though we always hear Roth conversions or Roth accounts are great, sometimes based on a structure, the structure that you might be already set up with might just be the better way to go. So you always want to do an evaluation. All right, so how much to convert? Not all at once. Partials are usually better. We control the taxes. Again, manage the tax brackets. And then again, we want to make sure it makes sense in your picture. It has to give you an advantage. I stress that with pretty much everything that I do. I like to prove it out first. And then if everything makes sense, then we go from there. All right, how we can help. Below in the description, there is actually a link where you can schedule a time for a complimentary phone call. So if you just have a few more questions about Roth conversions, feel free to call. If you're thinking about doing a Roth conversion and are not sure it's the right thing for you to be doing, same thing. In that same link, when we set up a time to call, just ask me a few questions about it. Some of the things I don't even have to run a projection for to prove it out. Some I do. So I guess worst case, we'll have to do a little bit of math, but that's fun for me. Our next Tumolo talk coming out in July will be on taxes. Just giving a few more ideas on that. Other than that, hope you learned a bit. Thank you for attending.